FMCSA's compliance and safety programs improve and promote safety performance and save lives. However, agency resources available for these efforts have remained relatively constant over time, despite increases in the regulated population and additional programmatic responsibilities. FMCSA has identified limitations in both how safety is measured and how unsafe behaviors, once identified, are corrected. CSA 2010 builds on FMCSA's current processes for assessing and improving the safety performance of motor carriers and drivers through a new safety measurement system and a new suite of tools. How does CSA 2010 work? CSA 2010 basically changes the existing enforcement and compliance business process to provide a better view into how well large commercial motor vehicle carriers and drivers are complying with safety rules, and to intervene earlier with those who are not. When the program is fully rolled out by the end of 2010, FMCSA will have a new enforcement and compliance model that will utilize its resources and those of its state enforcement partners more efficiently and effectively, making the roads even safer for everyone. This new CSA 2010 operational model has three major components. Measurement. CSA 2010 measures safety performance in new ways, using inspection and crash results to identify carriers whose behaviors could reasonably lead to crashes. Evaluation. CSA 2010 helps FMCSA and its state partners to correct high-risk behavior by contacting more carriers and drivers with interventions tailored to their specific safety program, as well as a new safety fitness determination methodology. Intervention. CSA 2010 covers the full spectrum of safety issues, from how data is collected, evaluated, and shared, to how enforcement officials can intervene most effectively and efficiently to improve safety on our roads. Feedback from enforcement staff and carriers indicate that the new model is both efficient, reaching more carriers, and effective, with some carriers undertaking proactive efforts to learn more and to correct their safety problems. Within the Comprehensive Safety Analysis, CSA 2010 operational model, the Safety Measurement System, SMS, quantifies the on-road safety performance of carriers and drivers to identify candidates for interventions, to determine the specific safety problems exhibited by a carrier or driver, and to monitor whether safety problems are improving or worsening. SMS replaces SafeStat in the new operational model. The carrier SMS uses a motor carrier's data from roadside inspections, including all safety-based violations, state-reported crashes, and the Federal Motor Carrier Census to quantify performance in the following behavior analysis safety improvement categories. Basics. There appears to be many requirements for training, which should be addressed as quickly as possible. Don't wait for an investigation or a non-compliance letter to start your training. Unsafe driving. Operation of a commercial motor vehicle or CMVs by drivers in a dangerous or careless manner. Some examples include speeding, reckless driving, improper lane change, and inattention. Fatigued driving, hours of service. Operation of CMVs by drivers who are ill, fatigued, or in non-compliance with the hours of service, HOS regulations. This basic section includes violations of regulations pertaining to logbooks as they relate to hours of service requirements and the management of CMV driver fatigue. Example violations: HOS, logbook, and operating a CMV while ill or fatigued. Driver fitness. Operation of CMVs by drivers who are unfit to operate a CMV due to lack of training, experience, or medical qualifications. Some examples include failure to have a valid and appropriate commercial driver's license and being medically unqualified to operate a commercial motor vehicle. Controlled substances, alcohol. Operation of CMVs by drivers who are impaired due to alcohol, illegal drugs, and misuse of prescription or over-the-counter medications. This could mean use or possession of controlled substances and/or alcohol. Vehicle maintenance. Failure to properly maintain a CMV. Violations could include brakes, lights, and other mechanical defects, and failure to make required repairs. Cargo-related. failure to properly prevent shifting loads, spilled or dropped cargo, overloading, and unsafe handling of hazardous materials on a CMV. Example violations: improper load securement, cargo retention, size and weight, and hazardous material handling. Crash indicator: histories or patterns of high crash involvement, including frequency and severity. It is based on information from state-reported crashes. A carrier's measurement for each basic depends on the number of adverse safety events or violations related to that basic or crashes, the severity of violations or crashes, when the adverse safety events occurred, and more recent events are weighed more heavily. After a measurement is determined, the carrier is then placed in a peer group. Percentiles from 0 to 100 are then determined by comparing the basic measurements of the carrier to the measurements of other carriers in the peer group. 100 indicates the worst performance. Safety evaluation is the process of determining how to address carriers with poor safety performance. SMS allows FMCSA to more effectively evaluate safety performance using new measures for 1. Identifying which carriers require what type of intervention using a policy-driven process called intervention selection, and 2. Determining which carriers should be proposed unfit to operate using a regulatory process called Safety Fitness Determination, SFD. This means an unfit suspension will prohibit a carrier from operating based on the conclusion of a SFD. In other words, shut down operations. FMCSA and state partners will use measurement results to identify carriers for CSA 2010 interventions. These interventions will offer an expanded suite of tools, ranging from warning letters to comprehensive on-site investigations that supplement the labor-intensive compliance review to better address the specific safety problems identified. CSA 2010 investigators will be equipped to systematically evaluate why safety problems are occurring, to recommend remedies, to encourage corrective action or actions, and where corrective action is inadequate, to invoke strong penalties. Interventions will provide carriers with the information necessary to understand their safety problems and to change unsafe behavior early on. Interventions under CSA 2010 can be broken into 3 basic categories, which are described in detail below: early contact, investigation, and follow-on. Driver training is an important part of compliance. When drivers are properly trained and their training is reinforced with action, the less likely they are of crashes, non-compliance, and intervention under CSA 2010. As an example of the training for unsafe driving basic: road rage, driving in extreme weather, railroad crossing safety, bobtailing and jackknifing, safety at intersections, safe backing of tractor-trailer rigs, safe operations of motor vehicles, and others. Each basic would require additional training to help meet that specific requirement. Training and enforcement of the training plays an important part of CSA 2010 compliance. To meet this new requirement, carriers and drivers need to develop programs, training, and procedures to eliminate problems with roadside inspections through proper maintenance that will prevent violations. Carriers and drivers must prevent the factors that will result in violations and assessments. This includes programs for maintenance violations, driver and hours of service violations. We understand that it is easier said than done, but when you look at the alternative of fines or carrier shutdowns, there is no option but to comply. This means management, shop and driver training to encompass a thorough pre-trip inspection and repairs made before the equipment gets on the road. It means drivers completing their job assignments within the hours of service requirements and zero tolerance on drug and alcohol issues. Prevention is the goal. Training and enforcement of the rules is your best bet for compliance. Warning letter: correspondence sent to a carrier's place of business that specifically identifies a deficient basic or basics and outlines possible consequences of continued safety problems. The warning letter provides instructions for accessing carrier safety data and measurement, as well as a point of contact. Carrier access to safety data and measurement. Carriers have access to their measurement results, basics scores, as well as the inspection reports and violations that went into those results. With this information, carriers can chart a course of self-improvement. Carriers can also monitor this data for accuracy and challenge it as necessary through FMCSA's Data QS system. Targeted roadside inspection. CSA 2010 provides roadside inspectors with data that identifies a carrier's specific safety problems by basic based on the new measurement system. Targeted roadside inspections occur at permanent and temporary roadside inspection locations where connectivity to the SMS information is available. As commercial vehicle information systems and networks, CVISN, technologies evolve, they will be incorporated into the roadside inspections. Off-site investigation. A carrier is required to submit documents to FMCSA or a state partner. These documents are used to evaluate the safety problems identified through the SMS and to determine their root causes. Types of documents requested may include third-party documents such as toll receipts, border crossing records, or drug testing records. The goal is to identify issues responsible for poor safety performance. If the carrier does not submit requested documents, they may be subject to an on-site investigation or to subpoena records. On-site focused investigation. The purpose of this intervention is to evaluate the safety problems identified through the SMS and their root causes. An on-site focused investigation may be selected when deficiencies in 2 or less basics exist. Focused on-site investigation targets specific problem areas, for example, maintenance records, while comprehensive on-site investigations may address all aspects of the carrier's operation. On-site comprehensive investigation. This intervention is similar to a CR and takes place at the carrier's place of business. It's used when the carrier exhibits broad and complex safety problems through continually deficient basics, worsening multiple basics, 3 or more, or a fatal crash or complaint. CSA 2010 mandates proactive and progressive interventions for carriers and drivers that have been identified with safety deficiencies. CSA 2010 interventions are unique tools designed to communicate, investigate, and correct carrier safety performance problems before crashes occur. The interventions increase in severity and degree of interaction based on the risk posed by the carrier. FMCSA and its state partners will use CSA 2010 interventions to maintain a strong enforcement presence by more effectively targeting motor carrier safety deficiencies soon after these problems are identified. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's FMCSA new National Safety Initiative for Commercial Motor Vehicles, CSA 2010, is a more efficient and effective method for targeting the safety problems of both motor carriers and their drivers to reduce commercial motor vehicle crashes and fatalities. CSA 2010 is a very comprehensive program that can be serious for any carrier that ignores the rules and basic intent of the new safety program. Training and enforcement of policies and procedures appear to be a major part of the program, but in reality, it's a united effort to encompass all the factors and basics of a complete program for all carriers.